What's up, Yodosita family? I'm Emerson Epolai from Yodosita, and today I'm here with Miss,
Victoria Reed, hi, good afternoon.
a history teacher in the Averna Idarican High School. And right now we're in the library, and I came to ask a very controversial topic that we have here within the Virgin Islands, right? I'm not sure if we noticed this, right? It is way more expensive to live here in the Virgin Islands than it is to live in the States. Prices for like food, transportation, and every other the expenses they are way higher here than they are in the States. And from what you're saying, I would like to hear your thoughts on what you think about the high cost of living in the Virgin Islands. You think these prices are too high, or you think these prices could be a little manageable?
So for me in the Virgin Islands, our cost of living is high, that is true. We try our best to maintain what we have as people growing up in the Virgin Islands. But looking at cost wise, rent is high, food cost is high, people pay light, they pay rent, they pay internet now, especially now since COVID. We make these things mandatory in our homes. So yes, financially it is becoming a burden on many people. Now with our new administration that's in US territory, US statewide, we're gonna have a lot of problems moving forward with more increase in pricing. So yes, I do say that here we do have high prices. Yes, it's high. I don't really agree with how it is right now. We can't fix certain things because we're not in charge. But yeah.
All right. That is a very good answer, and that is very truthful. And that is very truthful. But at the same time, right? If you had the chance and the opportunity to live in the States, because the States guarantees that you pay less money, like way less money in the States. If you had the chance to move from the Virgin Islands to live in the States, so you could carry, so you could continue out your life, would you take that chance and live there, or would you rather stay in the Virgin Islands?
For me personally, staying at home has always been my number one. I'm actually from the island of St. Croix, but I traveled to St. Thomas for educational purposes and then still decided to go and work right after. So now I'm a teacher. If I had the opportunity to go to the US mainland to live, being that cost and stuff is cheaper there, I probably still wouldn't take the chance. I know other people that would. I wouldn't take the chance because home is home. You know people here. You know what you're living around. When you go to the US mainland, you're not sure where you're going to meet when you get there. So I don't agree with most people that decide to leave the territory.
And that is the type of love that we US Virgin Islanders should have. One last question. So I'm not sure if you realized that the prices for the eggs they went up like this skyrocketed. Like, what was your first thought on it? What do you feel about it?
Well, just like some of our students in the territory and neighbors that have chicken coops, I suggest all of us start to raise chickens so we can grow our own eggs organically. Don't you think that's good?
I think that would be a good idea. Hi, Miss Reed. I would like to thank you for doing this interview with me. And yeah, thank you, Miss Reed.
Not a problem.
What's up, Yadasita family? I'm Emerson Epolai from Yadasita, and today I am here with Mr. Ifa Labi, right here at the Atlanta Idarican High School. Not sure if you noticed this, right, but it is way more expensive to live here in the Virgin Islands than it is to live in the States. Prices for food, groceries, transportation, housing, and other everyday expenses, they are really high here than it is in the States. So, based on what I come from saying, right, I would like to hear your thoughts on perspective or what you think about the high cost of living in the Virgin Islands. You think you think those costs will be manageable, or you think those costs are like way too high? Who want to hear your thoughts on
Anyway, thank you so much for that. Yeah, that's true. Talking about the US Virgin Islands, the high cost of living is very massive, very massive. But due to certain factors, we can't deny that. Factors including what you call the salary. Talking about salary, that is minimum wage over here. Looking at the states, the minimum wage at the state is far higher than what we have over here. According to records, we can say that the minimum wage over here is 10.50 or 10.5. Such minimum wage weighs down people and make cost of living very high for them. For them to be able to afford for accommodation, for them to be able to afford for feeding, transportation, among others. It becomes very difficult. Again, the US Virgin Island is an island that do not produce a lot of its goods. They do not produce a lot of their items. So majority of them are being imported to this place. And as they are being imported, it makes prices of items very, very expensive. It makes the price of items very, very expensive. So for example, as you said, grocery or items that will be sold in the mainland or the state will not have the same price as over here because it has been imported here, making prices of things very high and very high. First of all, let's ask ourselves, what is high cost of living? We can check high cost of living, that is looking at the per capita income of the nation and the people. And you realize that since everything is not produced over here, it makes things very expensive and making high cost of living very high. Let's look at this also. In a situation or in a country whereby our major income depends on what we call tourists, it's very difficult for us to have money. For that matter, the cost of living is very high. Talking about being manageable or not being manageable, everywhere we go, we need to manage. We need to manage. For that matter, if there's nothing we can do, we just need to manage. And how do we manage? By cutting down our lifestyle of living. By making sure that we'll be able to afford something that will not be way expensive than our income. A practical example is, if you are an individual getting a wage, a salary of, for example, $1,000, that means according to your expenses, you should not spend more than $1,000 2 weeks or a month, or more than that, or even 800. No, but rather what you have to do is to make sure you have an expenses that is within your range. For example, $1,000, as I stated earlier, you need to be able to work within an amount that will not cost you so much. With that, you can cope, you can manage. Again, you don't go for luxury things. Young men and young ladies of this stage always want to have luxury things, chains, rings, among others. Even their hairdo, the hairstyle, among others. If you're able to live within our range, not spending extravagantly, I think we can manage. Because there is nothing like cool everywhere in this world. Every place we have its own problems, its own challenges. People are crying all over the world talking about high cost of living. But the individual needs to be able to live according to his means or her means. Another instance is talking about the housing. There might be a house that is not finished, costing about $800. But an individual will decide to go for a house finished costing $1,200. Is such an individual being paid of $1,000 and paying every month $1,200 because he wants a self-contained, self-finished housing? Definitely, the cost of living wouldn't be easy. It's going to be very, very high for such a person. So it's all about living according to your means. Try not to live extravagantly. Try not to overspend your wages, but try to spend within and below your wage. And don't forget, saving is another thing we shouldn't forget. No matter how much we get, we try and save something. And at the end, I think, we can manage. Not bad, we can manage. Yeah, that's my thought.
Alright. And you heard her. It's very, very important to be adaptable as a Virgin Islander. Mr. Lavi, thank you for volunteering.
You're always welcome.
Um,
I'm always there for you.
alright, for the mix. Alright.